You're watching the Lacrosse Flash. I'm Tyson Geick. Lacrosse legend Brian Shanahan joins me now. Shanny, great to have you on. And let's start with the Philadelphia Wings, who are in search of their first win of the season. They had a superstar player last weekend, but they also had a star player of theirs go down. What is this going to do to the dynamic of the team, and what should we expect from them?
Well, the Philadelphia Wings have added Kevin Crowley, but unfortunately they've lost Brett Hickey for the season. And although it kind of looks like they added Crowley because they lost Hickey, who was injured on Friday's game against the Toronto Rock, and then the deal was made official on Saturday. That deal was actually in the works, and they were going to get Crowley regardless. It just seems a lot more important now that Hickey's out. But I'm sure they'd like to imagine what they'd be like if they had both Hickey, who was former 50-goal scorer, and Crowley, who's a consistent 35-goal scorer, coming off his best year last year with 51 goals. If they had them both on that right side, that'd be pretty scary. But instead, they'll have Kevin Crowley, who's a strong player who's entering his 8th year in the NLL. He's been consistent, 35 goals or so every year, 70, 80 points every year. And he'll definitely add to the offense of that team. He's a power forward and lots of skill, so he'll help a lot. And the thing about Philly too is they're coming off their best game of the season against Toronto. They really should have won that. Maybe a little bit of clock mismanagement late in the game, but there was a lot of good things that they have to be happy with, starting with the way their goaltender Buchan played. And they'll be going for their first win of the season this week when they come back home, since their whole opener about a month ago against the Buffalo Bandits. But it's not going to get any easier. They're playing the Georgia Swarm, who are undefeated and playing great and looking great. What should be pretty interesting though is since Georgia won their championship a couple years ago, a couple of players are missing from that team, Kyle Matisse and Jordan Hull, and they're playing for Philadelphia. So they'll definitely be motivated to put a good showing against their old team. So I think it'd be great if Philly could get that first win, but I think it's going to be really tough.
All right, let's shift to the Western Conference. The Colorado Mammoth are the only team in the West without a win this season. Just how long before this team needs to hit the panic button?
Well, they don't push the panic button yet, but this weekend is the pivotal game. They play the Toronto Rock, who they actually swept last year. And in fact, those 2 wins knocked Toronto out of the playoffs. So Toronto probably feels like they owe them, and they probably love seeing that. They would love to be the team that makes it difficult for Colorado to make the playoffs this year. Last year, Colorado got off to a great start of the season, 3-0. And this year they have a chance to go 0-3, and which makes it even more tougher if they were to lose that game against Toronto, is that all 3 games are at home. In fact, they start the season with 4 games at home. I think Colorado's going to come out hard. I think this is going to be a really tough game for the Toronto Rock. But if Colorado loses it, I don't want to say panic, but I could see them making some kind of deal, depending on how they lose too. Their offense has not looked good so far. So if it's more of the same this weekend and they lose, I could see them looking to make a deal, to improve the offense. And pure speculation, but it wouldn't be great if they tried to go after either a Westberg or Curtis Dixon. Who knows? But this is the weekend that's pivotal for them.
Now from the West, we go back to the East. The New England Black Wolves had a huge 1-goal win over the defending NLL Cup champion Saskatchewan Rush a couple of weeks ago. They have the Calgary Roughnecks this weekend. Is that win just a one-off, or is this team the real deal?
I'm not convinced New England is for real yet. I am impressed with their victory over Saskatchewan, for sure. Or Saskatchewan. Is that the way to say it? Saskatchewan? I am impressed with that, for sure. But last year, they had some impressive games at the beginning of the year. They beat Georgia, who were the defending champs, in their home opener last year. They actually swept Rochester last year. But they also had some terrible games. In fact, their goal differential was about almost minus 50, which was the second worst in the league. Only Vancouver was worse. So they had a habit of winning close games or getting killed. So until they convince me otherwise, I'm not going to put my money on New England. And yeah, they could surprise me, and they could turn out to be a very good team and have a good year. I've got great confidence in the coaches, Glenn Clark and the rest of his coaches. And there's a lot of things I like about that team, but they have to do it for a number of games before they sell me on them being for real. And I think they're going to have a tough game in Calgary this weekend. Calgary's playing really well, but I may change my tune if they go into Calgary and are able to pull out another victory. Then I'll change my tune on what they're doing. But it's still very early in the season.
Well, thank you very much. That's Lacrosse Insider and color commentator for the Toronto Rock, Brian Shanahan. Shanny, we'll look forward to having you on very soon. 5 games on tap in the NLL this weekend. You can catch all the action on Bleacher Report Live. Thanks for tuning in to the Lacrosse Flash. I'm Tyson Geick. We'll see you next time.